Hello, I'm Dr. David Hawkins, Director of the Marriage Recovery Center and the Emotional Abuse Institute. And there is a pattern where the emotional abuser, the narcissist, acts out badly, but then acts as if it didn't happen. As if it didn't happen. As if it's not part of a larger complex. As if it's not a recurring issue in the relationship, as if it's a one-off, as if it's a one-off, when it's not a one-off. It's very common for me to talk to a victim of narcissistic and emotional abuse, and she might say to me something like this: "Oh my goodness, yeah, he lost his temper and just started ranting and raving. I walked out of the room and told him I wouldn't sit with this anymore. And sometime later, he gave a half apology. And then, in the days that followed, he didn't bring it up again. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't say that he understood that this has happened many times over the history of our relationship. He didn't put the pieces together in a coherent manner." And this is her talking to me. She says, "It leaves me baffled. It leaves me like wondering what? As if it didn't it happened." And so it is really critical, people, whether you are the victim of emotional abuse or the perpetrator of emotional abuse, there needs to be a coherent story. Coherent story. Definition of coherent is all the pieces fit together. So if the emotional abuser has a pattern of losing their temper, has a pattern of stonewalling, has a pattern of blame shifting, has a pattern of defensiveness, then that pattern needs to be part of his or her recovery. There's got to be a coherent story. We need to feel like we're in this together and we're working on it and we all understand what's going on. All right, I want to give you 3 steps that I want all of you to take when it comes to this issue of acting as if it didn't happen, when it did, and there's a pattern of it happening. Number 1, create a coherent story, folks. Again, whether you are the perpetrator of abuse or the victim of abuse, create a coherent story. What are the patterns? What are the things that happen again and again and again that we, if I'm going to be in relationship with you, we need to be talking about? We need to hold them in front of us. They are part of our ongoing story. And especially if you are the victim of emotional and narcissistic abuse, I want you to create coherence in your own mind. You understand what the patterns are and what is going on. Number 2, I want you to share your story. Create a coherent story and share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your therapist, share it with your group, share it with important people, share it with the abuser, your abuser, if it's appropriate to do so. And perpetrator of abuse, you need to have coherence in your story as well. These aren't one-offs. They're not one-offs. They're patterns. And if you're going to overcome those debilitating and destructive patterns, you're going to have to hold it in front of you. Oh, I know you might be saying, well, it's going to get thrown at me. Not thrown at you, but you've got to hold it in front of you. You've got to be able to talk about it. That happens with AA, NA, SA. And you hear folks say, I'm a recovering alcoholic. It's part of my story. I share it. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm a recovering sexual addict. I'm a recovering drug addict. I'm recovering, and it's part of my story. It's part of my coherent story. All right. I know these are very difficult ideas and concepts, but I want you to overcome acting as if it didn't happen. And I want you to create a coherent story so the pieces all fit together. And so then you really can have some trust that change really is occurring. All right. I want to hear your thoughts about this. If you need some additional help, contact our client care team. Check on the link there and also click the link for subscribing to future videos. All right, take care, and as always, God bless.